Hi, welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. You know, all of our gospel writers have a beautiful way of expressing and speaking for the Lord and sharing His words. Mark has that great knack of kind of saying, here it is, right in front of us, and no fluff, I guess I'd say. In chapter 6, verse 53 to 56, this is what Mark has written. After making the crossing, they came to land at Gennesaret and tied up there. As they were leaving the boat, people immediately recognized them. They scurried about the surrounding country, and they began to bring in the sick on mats, and wherever they heard he was. Whatever villages or towns or countryside he entered, they laid the sick in the marketplaces, and they begged him that they might touch only the tassel of his cloak. And as many as he touched were healed. You almost wish you were there. You almost wish you could run there now with some of the people you love, and sometimes just touching that tassel would be all we ask for. The scripture is the inspiration for the Gennesaret Retreat, which helps people coping with serious illness reconnect with their God sometimes, heal their broken hearts. The retreat offers respite, a quiet time to help them to continue their pilgrimage, their journey. The themes of the retreat focus on God's love, His gentleness, forgiveness, and certainly His faithfulness. My guests today are Hillary and Gordon Reinhold and Margaret Nitka. Hillary is a Gennesaret Retreat coordinator. And the husband, Gordon, they tell me that he's the nuts and bolts member. But he was also the liturgist for their retreats. And Margaret Nitka is a Gennesaret Retreat team leader. Beautiful people that take their baptismal promises, vows, re-Eucharist, and make it their lives, so that the consecration from the altar is also a consecration in the work they do and the people they deal with. Bless you. Bless you both all very much. I slow down because it's hard stuff, heavy stuff, beautiful stuff, teary stuff, smiley stuff. It's all the stuff that Jesus was about.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm sure you so-called tie your boat up in many different places, you know, and wherever your boat is, I'm sure people come running. Because so many people hurt, and they, you know, and we all probably wish maybe we all had that tassel. We can just, but it's not that easy, is it? So tell me, and tell my beautiful folks that listen with us, tell us exactly what this Gennesaret Retreat is really all about. What makes it special, especially to those who are ill and hungering for some kind of strength.
I think, as you said before, Monsignor, it's a respite. They come away to a place that's quiet and peaceful. They leave their, medical bills behind and everything that reminds them of the illness that they deal with every day. It's a place where we like to call it a time out for God, and people are willing to come and just to be there, just to be there with us.
First of all, it might be good to tell us, where is it?
Oh, right now it's being held at the Archdiocesan Youth Center in Kearney.
Kearney, New Jersey.
Kearney, New Jersey, excuse me. But it's also held in Gethsemane in Kentucky. There's one out on Bayshore, Long Island at the Montfort Fathers, and there used to be one up in Wappinger Falls at the Redemptorist Fathers. So we've grown a little bit from
Now you told me the
here
places.
in New Jersey, yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about the retreat? Like, is it a weekend, a week, a month, or as long as somebody wants it? Do they stay by themselves in a little hut? I mean,
the retreat is a 3-day retreat. It actually is 2.5 days. It starts on a Friday and proceeds through Sunday. There's a Mass each day. There's healing service. There's a worship benediction service. There's plenty of time for people to be aside and to rest. I think that's how I would describe it. I think it maybe more importantly, getting onto what Hillary said, the people who come are no longer the cancer patient in room 306. They're Mary, or no longer the AIDS patient. They are George, or they are a person once again, and they come to share that personhood with us.
Margaret, you're a team leader. Tell me, we got lots of time to get into some of the, how do you see the folks coming into this retreat? How do they even hear about it? What, do they just call up and come? Can they show up, or they have to be sponsored?
We do have a process. First of all, Hillary sends flyers, and we put them in places where people will see them, doctors' offices, the newspapers, parishes. So we try to reach out to people where they'll just notice it. But we even had somebody who was reading, last retreat, was reading a Help Wanted ad in a publication, and right under that was the Gennesaret Retreat. And that person ended up on the retreat. It's kind of amazing.
Sounds
who
like
comes.
how I got in the seminary.
How we got here. But we see people coming kind of fearfully and tentatively, but we've really prepared so well for them because it's all in prayer that we just open our hearts and we just stand there all together, and there's as many team members as there are retreatants or more. So we just form one group of people who are willing to just stand in it, stand together.
Sometimes just being there, huh? Sometimes just being there. Can anybody go? Do you have to be sponsored by a doctor? I mean, when you say seriously ill, is it up to them to decide? Is it open for men, women, children, Catholics, non-Catholics? I mean...
Yes to the above?
Yes to all of it. Huh?
Yes.
No, but as Peggy said, we put the flyers out in the newspapers, and people call. You know, so when they call, it's my thought that they're meant to call. They're meant to come, okay? So sometimes you'll get somebody to call, well, am I sick enough? You know, do I fit? And one time I remember very early on a woman called, and she says, you know, I have Lyme's disease. And it was real early when people didn't think too much about Lyme's disease, that it was... not as terrible as it is. And I said, well, what did you see when you read it? And she said, well, I thought it might be for me. And I said, well, it is. You know, so people come from all different places in their illness. Some are very ill, obviously. Sometimes we have hospital beds, sometimes we have equipment. Others you wouldn't know, but again, they're very ill. Some have heavy hearts and, you know, symptoms to go along with that. So we don't turn anybody. We've had, I think our youngest was 21, and I think maybe the oldest celebrated her 90th birthday with us. So the age range maybe is more, let's say 50, 60 would be the normal age. And then we send we have a team of nurses, medical people. They will go visit or call each person just to make sure we can take care of their needs. Also, then they know somebody who's going to be there. So it's a nice bridge, you know. And we're all about welcoming them, shall I say? It's a barrier-free facility. That's important. So that's why we're there at Kearney. Not too many of the retreat houses. We're not able to get in and move around as well. So they have a nice ground floor elevator and so forth.
Being an old guy from Jersey City, I actually, during college days, drove a truck into Belleville and Kearney and made a few bucks so I could learn something. Tell me about yourselves. You know, you're, honestly, first of all, thank you, and you're beautiful people. And I don't know how many people do thank you for the work you do and the volunteers you do and all that. But, you know, the smiles on your faces tell me what's inside you, so that's wonderful. But how did you get involved in this program? And I mentioned a little bit about your roles, but talk to me more.
Just for me, quickly, I have a friend. She's still a friend. Liz.
We'll call her up and ask her.
Lives down in McLean, Virginia, and she called me on. She says, I've been a hospice volunteer. I'm a nurse, and, you know, haven't worked at nursing a while, but I've done a lot of volunteering. And she said, you know, they have a retreat here for people who are sick, put on by the retreat house in McLean, the Dominicans. and they put the retreat on. She says, I thought you might be interested. And I says, oh, I thought maybe she'd send me a flyer, you know. So about two years
Almost
later,
2 years.
I get a phone call. Guess what? I met the guy running the retreat. You're on the team. And so
2 years later.
2 years later, so down I went. You know, it was one of those things that, and once I saw it, you know, I knew it was to bring back here. And, you know, Gordon was around and a couple of other friends, Peg and them.
You were the one who brought it back to New Jersey, I'll say.
Yeah, I was the one that went, but, you know, it's God's work. You know, everything we needed was there before we knew we needed it. Just the way just providence, God's providence.
You know this. I don't have to tell you anything.
Yeah.
But I'd like to just say this now. Just always remember, you know, what you've done for the least of my brothers and sisters. So, you know, every once in a while, kind of wink at them and say, yeah, I know. Thanks a lot. Gordon, now you're the nuts and bolts guy,
Yeah,
so
you're
I got
anxious to
to
hear
talk
about
to
this,
you,
right?
you know.
Let me just give you a concept. When she came back from Virginia, okay, we were looking for a place to hold a retreat. And we were up and down looking at all these places, and she went to the Vincentian Center here in
Princeton or
right,
Yeah.
where we held most of our first weekends. And she came home and she said, I signed the contract to rent the facility. This was,
in Kearney.
no.
No,
This is
Oh,
the
in-
first.
in-
Vincentian.
Vincentian
We
Center.
started there, yeah.
And
I thought you were going to say to rent our house. I didn't know where you were going with this.
I said to her, how much was the contract? She says, oh, $5,000. I didn't have $5,000.
That's spending money. I don't like those spending money for you. I didn't know that.
So those are the kind of nuts and bolts. The nuts and bolts here, though, are mostly we go on a retreat. The liturgy sets up a liturgy. We need songbooks. Well, we have to have songbooks there. The liturgy sends up a mass or whatever. We need the vessels. We need the host. We need all these things in place. We also need wheelchairs in the right place.
Sure.
And many times we need oxygen in the right place. At least on one occasion, and I know it was Margaret's husband, was called upon at 2 in the morning to find an open drugstore that would rent us a trapeze. So this lady could get in and out of bed. We found it, right?
We did.
So that's when I say nuts and bolts. It is the hardware. It's having the hardware in the right place at the right time, so these people can feel like they're at home. And it's very important that they're at home.
Yeah.
It's that's. I hope that answers that question.
Well, it's beginning to. I mean, my mind
hard
is
to
spinning
picture.
around with a lot of things here, you know. Margaret, were you going to say something?
Well, just that it's hard to picture what
Peggy,
the
I guess I'll call
I
you
know,
Peggy too,
it's
all
both,
right?
okay.
I feel one of you now.
Okay.
Okay, you can be on the team. It's, I forget what I was going to say. The nuts and bolts.
Yes.
Just that it
What's your
started
role?
out.
What's your role in the as the team leader or whatever?
Really just to facilitate what's going to happen. We have a spiritual director, 2 spiritual directors on the weekend, so that we just kind of open the sessions to help people to feel comfortable. This thing about feeling comfortable, that's what it was, that our nurses even are full care of an assigned retreatant. And as we get going and get into what we're going to talk about and everything, we just kind of make sure that people are in the right place, that their wheelchair has been wheeled over and they have plenty of time to get to a meal or get back to the talk. So that's really what the team leader, it's really not that I'm doing anything more than, in fact, the interesting thing is we all have name tags on and they all say helper. You have no idea who's doing what role. I mean, you can tell Gordon because he's also our musician. I mean, our head of music. And he's a lot of fun in that role. It's very spiritual and very much fun. So it kind of combines that ice-breaking kind of way that we build community.
Puts another little rhythm into some
He
of
does, into the nuts and bolts. That's why he's...
I'd like to comment here. The team itself is broken into 4 parts. There's a hospitality team whose job is to make people feel at home and to provide little niceties for people. There is a spirituality or liturgy team which plans the liturgies and works with the spiritual directors to make things together. There is the nuts and bolts team, and that's kind of what I do on many of the weekends. And there is the medical team. And the medical team is well aware of the situations of each person and makes sure that we have the right things in the right place medically. So that's how the teams are formed. The leader sort of looks over the top of all of those and makes sure that they're working together.
How many on the team? I mean, how many would you have on a weekend that would
20,
be?
22.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about.
Probably 4 or 5 in each of those
Category.
And we think, oh, we're so many, but we're busy.
We are working hard.
How many
we need all we
retreatants
can-
would you have on a weekend about?
Somewhere between 15. That's the
Something like
normal.
that.
Around that, maybe 20, maybe less.
20 would be the top, and
Some of the
we've had them like 6 or 7. Where we had
It's terrific.
One of the things that we deal with is that we are working with people who are ill. So we may, like say Wednesday night before the thing, maybe we have 15 retreatants, and maybe we get there and only 7 are able to make it. So we have to be pretty flexible,
Sure, sure.
and no pressure. Yeah.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
why he took the boat different places. You got to move the boat around.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you all been involved in this? Is this something that's been you've been
22
doing?
years.
How many years?
22.
22.
22.
Well, you two got to be because you're married. How many
Me too, though.
Peg too.
22.
Peggy's been there from the start. Right?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2
yeah.
retreats a year.
That's my
Spring
next
and
question.
fall.
There are
Yeah.
2 retreats a year.
Uh-huh.
Typically in May, typically in October.
Now, is that enough? Are you looking to do more retreats? No, I don't say less retreats, but
No, I
and-
don't
and
think
you-
so. No, that's
Two's-
just
two-
about
two's good.
right. And spring and fall is the time people are apt to come out to something.
Yeah.
One time we had a winter date just because of the retreat house, and that was poorly
nowhere.
attended.
Yeah.
So just because,
Too hard.
Now, any special qualifications for volunteers? I mean, it sounds to me like some of them have to have some knowledge of medicine or whatever. So they do
Most
have
of
to
our
have-
nurses are current, and sometimes we have doctors that come along. We're all in retreat together, as any retreat, we're all together in this. And the nuts and bolts, we kind of laugh about this, but that kind of allowed the nurses' husbands to come along comfortably because they knew that's what they'd be doing. It kind of opened up a place for us all to be, right?
Well, I'm just half thinking. There's nothing similar. When I was a kid, my mom and dad got involved in a group from Jersey City or up that way anyway, that would take folks up to Canada and to do a retreat pilgrimage kind of thing. And I remember Mom, I guess, had a little expertise in some of that, but Dad was the guy who would, pick them up, or said they had to have wheelchairs and,
Right.
and different
Yes.
things,
Right.
So,
So the nuts and bolts have to have strong backs.
well, I was going to
Yes.
say, Mom had a little bit of.
That is a-
I think they just want me to, clean up or lift the bus up or something, But that's, gee, gosh, that's terrific. When we say that they're seriously ill, what kind of illnesses are we talking about? You mentioned a couple already, but what would
Right.
be some of
We
these?
tend to have a lot of people who've have cancer or are in remission,
Okay.
or maybe just diagnosed. They
yeah,
come in, or
yeah.
maybe there's a turn in their illness where they have to make a decision.
Sure.
This is a very good place to come. People with heart problems tend to come. A lot of stroke victims come. Let's see, and some of the COPD, the
We have
breathing
had
problems, and AIDS.
AIDS,
Sure.
sure.
So,
And thank God we're doing some marvelous things medically,
Oh,
besides
absolutely.
spiritually. I think,
We were on one weekend, and this one was in Louisville, in the retreat out there. We had a man who had early Alzheimer's. And as we were playing music, it turned out he had been a professional musician playing a bass, and we had a bass. And this man, while he couldn't remember what happened 3 minutes ago, remembered all the chords to all the songs and played right along with us.
yeah.
Remember that?
I do.
So, I mean,
miracles happen on all sides, don't they?
Absolutely.
if the weekend has how do I say this? With the people there, if they have had a diagnosis, that changes their life,
Right.
that I think is the criterion for coming on a Gennesaret. Even a diagnosis of diabetes too.
Sure, sure. Anything.
We've had people with Lou Gehrig's disease in the early stages
Oh my
and
gosh.
later, you know, so the medical team becomes very important at that time for
Can you give me a little idea of a typical schedule, like what happens during the retreat? Talks, mass, prayers? How does this all fit together?
Well, comes Friday, we start off setting up the routine. We tell the people where the places are that they're supposed to be, what the rooms are. And then we have a welcoming, and we have them tell who they are, and then we celebrate Mass. And then we go to dinner. And after dinner, we come back together and we more deeply introduce each other with some kind of a open-ended question to ask. Then on the Saturday morning, we go to breakfast, and then we have a Mass, and we have a benediction, and we have a talk just prior to the benediction. Let me see, what am I missing, Hillary?
What day are you on?
I'm on Saturday, and Saturday,
Couple of talks.
Prayer.
we have a healing service, and following the healing service, we have a gaudete. Basically, it's a party. And we sing all kinds of oldies but goodies songs. You know, we range from down by the riverside to whatever. We have a great time and a lot of fun.
And the saints come marching in.
Yes. We had one weekend we were playing, and this lady, I think she was like 90 years old in a wheelchair, said to me and my friend who was playing, said, "Hey, Sonny, if you play the Saints Go Marching In, we'll do a Congo line."
Wow.
And sure enough, 5 wheelchairs in a
Wow.
circle, kicking their legs up in the air.
Wow.
So fun.
It was a scene.
Now I'm going to say
That
this because I don't know.
freedom.
We're down around this area, Philadelphia. Didn't they have something? The Mummer's Strut.
Mummer's
Mummer
Strut.
strut.
Right,
We
right.
do that.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
That's great. Now,
Gosh.
how about some of the topics of the talks? I mean, what would be?
Yeah, we start off, there's 4 main topics. We start off with Come As You Are, so that our first spiritual direction presenter, it talks about, it doesn't matter where you've been, just be here. Just put your blanket down at the shores of Lake Gennesaret and we'll be together. And then the second one is, the next morning is prayer. There's other things going on, but the main topics, the 4, prayer is the next morning, and that's where we start talking about the support that we bring the outside community in. And we start showing the retreatants that they're just being held up by so many people. And we end that one with a prayer shawl presentation, a guided meditation where we put a prayer shawl on each person. And that's when they say, "Oh, okay, I've never been in this place before," and we invite them to go back to their rooms, and there's a bag of all notes and cards and letters that people have been doing from the greater community that really is very touching to our retreatants. After that, God's Help, I think, is the next talk, and that's later in the evening. And then on Sunday, how to get on with your tomorrows. So typically, the spiritual director or a team member will talk about their own experience of trying to get on with what they've learned, what they've seen.
I might add to that, when the prayer talk was on, one of the highlights of the prayer talk is that we read letters that have come from our bishops. The bishops of Trenton and Newark and Patterson, Metuchen Diocese, they all write us a letter, and we read that aloud to them, and they're all. It's quite remarkable how they say, "Oh, the bishop really is thinking of us and praying for us," and we thank him for that.
I know some of these
amazing.
bishops. I mean, their hearts are.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that would touch them. Yeah, gosh.
And they ask the retreatants to pray for them as well. For the bishops, ask for the retreatants' prayers, and that's kind of an eye-opener. Excuse me, Hillary.
No.
Yeah.
Well, even like our own bishop now is, as
Yeah.
you know,
We
he
pray for
talks
him
very openly about his own physical difficulties
Right.
and the healing part that goes with all of that, which
Yes.
is just tremendous stuff. So prayer is a real important thing, and
Yes.
and they have time for private prayer, or the Blessed Sacrament is there.
Yes.
You know.
He has a
And-
rosary, an outdoor rosary
Oh, wow.
area.
Wow.
It's all there. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, Peggy, you said about the bishop's letters. There's a lot of people that support us going, and you know, there are people who drive retreatants out there who can't drive. The children, we write to a lot of the Catholic schools, so they're the ones who send the letters and the placemats and things like that. Some of the high schools use their scripture class, and they'll send scriptures to the people. So there's just, you know, I didn't want to miss anybody. The bishops, of course, and we've had a couple of the bishops have actually come on the retreat, celebrate Mass, or...
I was going to ask you, who does the celebration of the Eucharist for you? I mean, is it, do you bring people, or is there people that have been doing this with you for years, or what?
It's one of the priests, yeah, who have worked with us, yeah, and everybody's actually welcome to come and work with us. But Father Jay Boughton will be here this
Oh,
time.
sure.
Father
Jay's a great
Bausch
guy.
has
Father Bausch has
been
been
with
with
us quite a bit.
Two
and,
great priests.
Charlie Hudson when he was alive,
Don't know-
and Paul
didn't know Charlie.
Bialy, Newark priest. But sometimes it's, you know, we just find each other, I
Sure,
guess. Bishop
sure.
Donato has come, and he was there the whole weekend with us, from Newark, Tom Donato. So that support is wonderful for the retreatants and nice for us. Also, we have that prayer shawl ministries. There are different parishes. They'll all send us shawls to use.
I was just thinking of my old parish, St. Paul's in Princeton. I'm sure if you ever need prayer shawls, call them up and tell them I said to get a few shawls. God.
We have young people working with us now. We've started to have young people come on, high school kids, who actually work on the team.
Our time always goes so fast, but I'm a storyteller and a story listener.
Yeah.
I mean, I pray stories. Quickly, a story about one of the retreatants transformed spiritually, or how the experience.
Well,
Can I do a quick
Go-
one?
go ahead,
Okay,
go ahead.
just a quick one. There was a woman coming on the retreat, and she came into the room, and the priest was there, and she came in with her head down, and she was walking, you know, really, anyway. And he said, the first thing I want you to know, he says, you are not your illness. You are Mary, God's beloved. And she visibly stood up.
Stood up.
She did, honest.
You know
yeah.
what? I wish I
We're
could talk to you
done.
for hours. God bless you. Keep your sanctity, your stories, your prayers, your love, and pray with them and for them. For more information at the retreat, you can call Hillary or email you at momr9@optonline.net. Pray with us, and we bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You were worried.